Chiefs Kingdom, welcome into today's video. We're going to talk about the Miami Dolphins versus the Kansas City Chiefs in the wild card round. My voice is still hoarse, but we're still here. We're still grinding. And I'm telling you what, I'm excited for this game because let's be honest, it was always the Dolphins. It was always going to be Tyreek Hill returning to Arrowhead Stadium. It was always going to be a rematch of that amazing Germany game back in NFL Week 9. We're going to talk about all the ins, all the outs, and what the Chiefs need to do to win this game, plus some injury news along the way. But I'm telling you what, we have done this every week, and it has worked every single week. If you can get this video to 1,000 likes, I guarantee the Chiefs will beat the Dolphins come Saturday evening on Peacock. So do me a favor. It takes 2 seconds. Scroll down, hit that like button. I'd certainly appreciate it. And guess what? The Chiefs would too. Let's like this video up because I'm telling you, it's playoffs time. So every single day matters, and it matters to us, and it matters to you. So hit that like button, and let's get into this video here. Starting with the matchup. We have two teams who have played each other before, but now these two teams are very different. The one thing that is the same is the scoring offense for the Dolphins and the scoring defense for the Chiefs. Both of them are the key things in this game and really the strengths of either team. The scoring offense for the Dolphins now second. They were first, but still almost 30 points per game is stellar. Now the Chiefs allowing under 20 points per game, in fact under 18, is absolutely amazing. The thing that's going to make this motor run is if the Chiefs offense can get going against a less than subpar defense. I think they're worse than subpar. I mean, honestly, the Dolphins defense has been terrible, and with injuries piling up, that team is really down to their last couple guys on the defensive side. We're talking about all those in just a minute, but I do want to take a quick second and go back to the first time these two teams played. That was back in Week 9, where they went to Frankfurt, Germany. You know, Tyreek Hill talked a lot about, when I come to Arrowhead, I'm going to do this. I'm going to throw out the peace sign. He didn't get to do that. In fact, it was in Germany. Well, now he gets his shot, and the Chiefs get their shot. It's a lot of things on the line, and it's one of the best games of Wild Card Weekend, I think, and that's exactly why it's on Saturday night. But you did win that game 21-14, but you didn't do much in the second half. It was a 14-0 run in the second half, and the Chiefs had one touchdown off a defensive score. You need to do better on that on offense, and they looked better in the Bengals game. Obviously, we can't talk about yesterday's game. That was a bunch of backups, but you have to get rolling early against a defense that is absolutely shoving right now. They just literally have nobody left on that defensive line. In the secondary, they are injured like nobody else. The problem is the defense has been great, but they're facing one of, if not the best offense in the NFL, and certainly the best offense in the AFC, and it's because of three guys. Those three guys, well, they're pretty easy. The quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa. The running back, Raheem Mostert. And none other than Tyreek Hill, Cheetah. These guys are first in passing yards and receiving yards and rushing touchdowns. These guys know what they're doing when they have the ball in their hands. The one thing, though, is they didn't do much against the Chiefs. Tyreek Hill had less than 65 yards, and Sneed shut him down. Tua Tagovailoa looked pretty, I'm going to say pestered in the pocket is the right way. He wasn't ever comfortable, couldn't find his footing, and it was Raheem Mostert who ultimately was the, I guess, angel of the Dolphins in that game, because late in the game, he was able to kind of get things rolling, ended up with upwards of 80 yards, had a touchdown, overall was certainly the best player in that game. He may not be playing, though, this coming Saturday. I mentioned the Dolphins are littered with injuries. Well, the offense is also not subject to that because you have Jalen Waddle, who missed yesterday's game with an ankle injury, and Raheem Mostert also ankle, both with high ankle sprains. Now, as of right now, they are questionable. We do not know their actual availability for Saturday. I would have to guess, given the importance of this game, given there is no tomorrow if you lose, I would think that they're both being in this game. Now, to what extent, I don't know, because Jalen Waddle is not the first option at wide receiver. It's Tyreek Hill. And I got to be honest, Raheem Mostert, as good as he has been this year, he's not been as good as Devon Achane. I mean, Devon Achane has had some stellar stats that we'll talk about later in the show, but they may use him more. Now, on the defensive side, I mentioned a couple of big injuries, but Andrew Van Ginkel was hurt last night. Don't know about him. Xavier Howard, he could potentially miss Sunday's game. That's a big miss because the Chiefs wide receiving core has been really bad. But if you don't have one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL on that team, well, there you go. You also have Javon Hall, the safety, who literally has been playing on 2 sprained knees. I mean, this guy got really banged up in that Friday game against the Jets on Black Friday and has played through it up until this point. Played a little bit 2 weeks ago, played 2 series last night, and now we're going to see what he's going to be able to do against the Kansas City Chiefs on Saturday, but we'll have to see. Now, there's the injury report for the Dolphins. We'll talk about the Chiefs in just a minute, but I have to ask this question right away because I think it's an important one. Who do you have in this game? I want your honest opinion. If you have the Kansas City Chiefs pulling this one out and beating the Miami Dolphins, then I want you to type KC. If you have the Miami Dolphins taking over the Chiefs, winning round 2, then I want you to type MIA. Get in the comment section and let me know because I'm really interested to see how Chiefs Kingdom feels about this game. One other important injury we have to talk about. Bradley Chubb. He tore his ACL, and I got to be honest, it was in one of the stupidest ways I've seen. He had a late game scenario against the Chiefs, against the Ravens, where they were down and out. I mean, it was just not great at all. And so, at this point, he is out. He has a torn ACL, which means Melvin Ingram is in to fill that role. Now, he recorded 1.5 sacks yesterday against the Bills, and overall, he looked okay. There was times where he had to go play in coverage, though, and my gosh, he cannot do anything. So if I'm the Chiefs, I'm finding any way possible to force Ingram off the line, to make him go in coverage, to put 3 receiver sets on his side and making sure that if there's an extra receiver on that side, the Dolphins are either going to have to move a safety over that way or Melvin Ingram is going to have to cover Travis Kelce as the tight end slot. That's not going to go well, and I think it would go great for the Kansas City Chiefs. So I'm trying to do that as much as possible because Ingram in coverage, not so good. But he proved he can be a force on the line when he goes to rush the passer. Before we move on in the show and I tell you about the Chiefs injuries, I got to tell you about one of our amazing sponsors, and that is Factor Meals. And if you're looking to get fresh, ready-to-eat meals delivered to your door, then make sure you check out Factor. You can get started on your resolutions with Factor so you're ready for the new year. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, the prep work, the cooking fatigue, and instead get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door with over 35-plus meals per week to choose, including options like keto, calorie smart, vegan and veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons. You'll have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your resolutions. Factor now offers loads of snack options like breakfast, smoothies, juices, snacks, and more to keep you going no matter what the schedule is. Factor has everything I need for a week of flavorful, nutritious eats. In addition to ready-to-eat meals, they have cold-pressed juices, smoothies, energy bites, extra protein, veggie sides, and more to keep me energized during frantic times like the NFL playoffs right now. So make sure you head to factormeals.com/ChiefsChat50 and use that code ChiefsChat50 to get 50% off. That's code ChiefsChat50 at factormeals.com/ChiefsChat50 to get 50% off. Let's take a look at the Chiefs' injuries and maybe looking at one returning, and that is Bryan Cook. So if you remember, Bryan Cook got injured in the game against the Packers back in Week 13, and it looked like a, honestly, season-ending injury. It was really bad. Now, it was less serious after the MRI came back relatively clean. It was obviously just the dislocation for a moment. So right now, it seems like he could be back. There was a lot of implications that he may come back. The Chiefs cut somebody on the practice squad, moved on from Tyree Gillespie as well, and that was a safety position for the depth role. Well, now guess what? Is it Bryan Cook's time to return? We got a little bit of talk from Mike Edwards saying that he's doing well, but still nothing confirmed about if he can come back for the playoffs. It's important, though, because he made one of the biggest plays of the game when the Chiefs took on the Dolphins in Germany in Week 9. Literally, you remember it. Mike Edwards ticks Tyreek Hill, fumbles the ball. He grabs it, and Tyreek Hill has him wrapped up. He is about to get tackled, and Mike Edwards pitches it to Bryan Cook, who runs it straight down the sideline over 50 yards for the touchdown. And ultimately, that was the deciding touchdown. Chiefs won by 7. I mean, that was a huge play in the game, a huge momentum shifter, and that was a big part of the Chiefs' win. I would love to see Bryan Cook back out there because he had an amazing moment last time. I want to see what amazing moment he has in store for us on Saturday night if he is available to play. Now, before we get into the full list of injuries, I know there was a couple guys in the injury report last week that we talked about, but I want you to predict the score for this AFC wildcard matchup. Chiefs, Dolphins, what do you think? You thinking a high-scoring matchup? You're thinking the Chiefs defense is going to come up stellar. It is a cold and windy game. Maybe there's going to be less scoring. Let me know in the comment section below. Predict the score, Chiefs versus Dolphins. The Chiefs injury report last week was full of some guys that you didn't like to see, including Rashee Rice, Sneed, and then obviously you have Kadarius, Toney, and Donovan Smith, who you don't like to see as well, but at the same time, you want to make sure that you have everybody available. And I think the thing that you have to look at this is these guys didn't play this week in a meaningless game. I feel as though, at least with Rice and Sneed, it may be a little different. And specifically with Rashee Rice, we had not seen him on the injury report at all. I mean, Rashee was really healthy and he was good. But then this past Sunday, yesterday, he missed the game against the Chargers. But he was on the sideline, he was smiling, he was talking to Mahomes, he was talking to Kelsey. He was really intuitive with everybody on the sideline. So I think if it was a playoff game this week, he would have played. I think it was just the extra rest. And since he had that hamstring, they were going to label it. He kind of required you by the NFL standards. So I like how they put them on there. And now you can have him fully rested and available for this playoff game against the Dolphins. And if you remember, right after the Dolphins game was when Rashee Rice got going. So maybe he's in line for a big game against a really beaten up Dolphins secondary. He's going to have to rely on Patrick Mahomes, though, who this year has had one of his down years. I will say that. It has been a lot of career lows for Patrick Mahomes. Now, whether that's because of the offensive scheme of Matt Nagy, whether that's because of the receivers, it doesn't matter. You got to reset everything right here and play to your opponent's level. You have Tua Tagovailoa on the other side, who leads the NFL in passing yards. His QB pass rating is really good at over 100, and he has thrown 14 interceptions, though. More touchdowns. I mean, overall, these guys are really comparable, and their stats are, for what we consider Mahomes to be a career low, he's still right there with Tua Tagovailoa and everything besides yardage. That's pretty good. The factor that I mentioned earlier that's going to be the biggest one, frigid Arrowhead. This stadium is going to be freezing cold. The weather forecast in Kansas City, 10 degrees, -8-degree wind chill with gusts up to 29 miles per hour. Plus, we got some chance for some flurries of snow. This game is going to be cold. And so I don't know how much the passing game is going to be relied on. There's going to be a lot of things we have to look in and see exactly what's going on and how the Chiefs can basically go about this game, maybe without passing a lot with Patrick Mahomes. So who do you look to? That'd be the running backs. First one being Isaiah Pacheco, who came just short of a 1,000-yard season. Jared McKinnon is injured, given he was on the IR back 3 weeks ago. He will miss this game, but we'll have Clyde Edwards-Helaire as well. And then LaMichael Pirine, who should be up there as well off the practice squad. Pacheco's the one you look at, though. I mentioned it. Just short of a 1,000-yard season, and didn't play yesterday. He also missed 2 games. This guy, in 14 games this season, had 935 yards. He was what we wanted from him as an RB1 this year and more. 4.6 average, 7 touchdowns. I love what I saw from him. He could also catch the ball. He was able to do it a lot, and that's going to be a pivotal part of this game because I expect you're going to have to throw it a little bit, but you may be able to do that on little dump-out routes to Isaiah Pacheco, little screen passes to Rashee Rice, cut slants from Travis Kelsey. You're not going to have any deep routes a lot of times, especially given the frigid weather. That's going to be a little harder. I would like to see a couple of deep routes from, say, Rashee Rice or maybe MVS. Obviously, I don't trust him a lot, but we'll see what happens. At the same time, though, you have to also look at the Dolphins' running back room. Theirs is not too shabby. In fact, that's probably one of the best running back rooms in the NFL along with the Chiefs. You have Mostert and you have Achane. These 2 guys are 2 of the top backs in the league, and they played together. You want to compare these guys to anybody? It's just like David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. These guys are right on top of each other. 103 carries for Devon Achane, 800 yards. That's a 7.8 average. 7.8. That's pretty insane. Yards per game, pretty similar. And the big thing, Raheem Mostert, 18 touchdowns. You know, when the Dolphins get into scoring range, it's Mostert's ball. They're going to give it to him. He's going to run the rock, and he's going to try and score. And that's exactly what he has done all year long. So you got to be able to stop these guys. And given the Chiefs' run defense this year has been less than par, I'm going to have to look to guys like Chris Jones, to Willie Gay, to Drew Tranquill, to Nick Bolton. You got to fill every gap. If the A gap is open, you got to know to be there. You got to know wherever the gap will be. That's probably where Mostert or Achane is. And wrap up, take him down, and you can have this game in the bag. What's your confidence level in a Chiefs win this Saturday night? Chiefs versus Dolphins. I want you to give me a number, scale of 1 through 10. Get in the comment section, let me know. Are you really confident? Say a 10. Are you less confident? Say a 1. Let me know in the comment section. Scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you in the Kansas City Chiefs getting the victory in wildcard weekend over the Miami Dolphins? We appreciate you watching, as always, Chiefs Kingdom. That's all we got for you. I know if you made it to the end of this video listening to my hoarse voice, well, I appreciate you more. I know it's rough, but we're going to keep pushing out content. We're going to make sure you have you covered for all week with injury news, the latest on the Chiefs, and what you need to know for everything for the Saturday night matchup in the wild card round. Chiefs, Dolphins at Arrowhead, where we'll be live right here on the Chiefs Sport. So if you don't have Peacock, make sure you're subscribed and come watch it with us here on the Chiefs Sport. As always, Chiefs Kingdom, peace out.